all those moments will be lost in time.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So one of you guys, and I'll link that person in the description, told me about SJWiki or SJWiki, however you want to read it. And well, now the motto here is my disappointment is disappointed. I still am disappointed. So I figured we could look into what exactly is on this wiki and just, I don't know, hate our lives for a couple of minutes. Something different. So right when you open the page, it shows you a variety of pictures, one of which shows us all these different types of biases: heterosexism, Eurocentrism, racism, androcentrism, genderism, and the list goes on and on. Of course it does. So once you scroll down, there are recommended articles and recently created articles. So I was very interested in the fat acceptance article just because it has an interesting picture and I kind of want to see what that's all about. Okay, so here we go. The fat acceptance movement, also known as size acceptance, fat liberation, fat activism, or fativism, is a social movement that works to change attitudes towards fat people, be they people who are simply larger than the thin ideal typical of modern Western society, or people who are actually obese. So there's this picture beside it, which is the picture that kind of drew me to this whole thing, just because it seems like it's really cringy, so let's just open that. Okay, so it says, why fat acceptance? Good question. Fat doesn't equal unhealthy, diets don't work, fat people are humans, humans deserve respect and dignity, even unhealthy ones, stop fat shaming, obesity crisis is funded by diet companies, fat discrimination is real, all bodies are good. Bonus, self-esteem, body love, freedom, shame-free, making choices that are good for you. Fat and happy, it's true, your call. Start now, end food guilt. Promo code fuck off.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
Okay, so I don't know how many times all of us on the internet are gonna have to say this, but being fat is not inherently unhealthy or healthy. What does that mean when I say that? Because there are different extremes of fatness, let's say. There's being fat, which is essentially the kind of derogatory term that people use towards themselves when they have a couple of extra pounds when they're not actually fat, but they call themselves fat. So there's that kind of fat. And then there's fat where you have 30 extra pounds, where it can lead to some health consequences. And then there's when you have so much extra weight that you're obese. All of these different versions of fat have different types of consequences. So to kind of conflate fatness as one homogeneous idea and one homogeneous way of being is absolutely ridiculous, which is why I think fat acceptance is kind of a controversial or heated topic, because you can be plus size, and when I say plus size, I'm talking about like plus size models. You can be that size, and because you don't have all this extra weight, the consequences, the health consequences you might have aren't as likely, and they're probably not as severe. However, if you're a plus size model like Tess Holliday, shown here, then there are health consequences and we can't pretend that there aren't. So when people preach fat acceptance, there's always this kind of underlying theme of, oh my god, you hate fat people, you just like don't like them, you don't actually care about their health, you just want to be mean. And I'm just like, I have no problem with people of whatever size. I'm just saying, can we be real with each other? Can we tell each other facts instead of lying and saying all bodies are good bodies? And I'm like, sure, you can say that they're good, but isn't having a good body just having a healthy body? And to some people, fitness also has something to do with it. But let's say health is the central thing of having a good body. Your body isn't good if it has so much excess weight that then your body stops functioning the way it's supposed to be functioning. And this argument goes both ways. The same way with anorexia. Like, if your body does not have enough weight, it will stop functioning the way it's supposed to function, and that's not a good thing. So I don't know why we would try and say that that's a good body. Everybody has the potential to be a good body. Everybody has the potential of being healthy or healthier. But I really don't understand why we're trying to soften this up when it's actually a really important thing to talk about, and it's really important to be able to tell each other the facts without someone fucking screaming or crying about it, right? So here it says, rejection of idealized body types. The first group of fat activism has more to do with issues of body image in the modern world. There is a strong push to define healthy and at weight as being extremely thin, especially when talking about women. These definitions do not account for a person being larger because they carry muscle mass and often cast healthy but larger people as overweight because their bodies do not conform to the maxim that one can never be too rich nor too thin. Now, I definitely agree that there is a kind of image that's pushed by the media of what it means to be an attractive man or an attractive woman, and often both are lean and pretty muscular, especially the men. The women maybe more just like the focus on being lean. And I definitely see that, and I see that there is a bit of an issue. When I watch movies, I like seeing ideal versions of potentially what I could be, you know, like a girl who doesn't necessarily have my body type, but what I could achieve if I, you know, spent my entire life at the gym or something. However, I do think that it would be cool to see people who are maybe a little bit bigger but still healthy, you know, like people who are just like different type of proportions or something contrary to the stereotypical Hollywood star, right? However, I don't think that this narrative is an actual reality, this whole thing of like you can never be too thin. Like there are plenty of times, the same way that magazines shame people for being too fat, magazines shame people for being too thin all the fucking time. I remember even specifically in reference to Amy Winehouse, she was sick, but at the time, like, obviously it wasn't confirmed that she was anorexic, though it was kind of obvious to me and most everyone, but people were worried about that. So this whole thing of like, oh, there's no such thing as being too thin in Hollywood, that's not true. That's not true. Magazines and the media and even just like onlookers or audiences like me and you notice those kinds of things and we say that's not okay. The same way it's not okay to be super obese for your health. It's not okay for your health to be super, super thin. I don't know why this is a conversation we're still having. Then there's another part that says, an added myth is that non-medical practitioners think that one can diagnose health problems by looking at people's bodies. This is not the case. One cannot know if another person has liver damage, is dehydrated, has high cholesterol, etc. merely by looking at the other person's body type. That would make diagnostics a lot easier. Combating these misconceptions is sensible. Though being overweight or obese warrants testing for a variety of conditions, being fat does not automatically mean you have any medical condition. So site diagnoses or even suggesting a person lose weight is not necessarily warranted without symptoms of other illness. So one thing I want to point out really fast, and I remember getting this comment on a video I made about fat acceptance months ago, and this person worked as an EMT and they were saying, you know, there are some things you can tell from just looking at someone. Certain types of pupil dilations can mean certain type of things in connection to how you're acting. There are things that you can visibly judge and say, okay, maybe this is going on. Of course, you don't know someone's medical history, but there are some visual things that can tip you off to how someone's doing health-wise, which is essentially what EMTs have to look out for because the person that they're responding to isn't always conscious and isn't always like, hey, here are my entire medical records, right? So there are some things that are visible, so let's not pretend like you can never know. But if you're a person who isn't, you know, in medicine, obviously it's going to be a lot harder for you to know any of those things. This post is claiming that everyone thinks that just having extra weight means that you have a series of medical problems. And I don't think people generally think like that. I don't think that people see a person who has a couple of extra pounds and are like, yep, she definitely is facing the consequences for eating extra donuts or something, you know, like I don't think that that's how people think. The reality also is, if you have a lot of extra weight, it's more likely that you're going to have some medical repercussions, whether they're severe or not. Even small things like panting intensely when you're going up the stairs or not being able to walk for a certain amount of time because otherwise your joints hurt, you know, like there are small and large consequences. So I think it's silly to have these stereotypes either way. I just think that when we talk about fat acceptance, a lot of the times what's missing is talking about the other side of the spectrum, because the same way that we don't say that it's okay to be anorexic, we can't say it's not okay to be obese. And when I say it's not okay, I'm not denying your existence. I'm not saying your existence isn't okay. I'm just saying the state in which you are in is dangerous for your health, and that's what's not okay. That your health isn't at its best, or, you know, that your health is potentially gonna get in the way of your life. So I definitely think that double standard is super dangerous, and if only we could talk about these things without people getting too caught up in their feelings, I think we would have made way more progress than we've made so far. But I digress. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about all of this. Where do you stand on the whole fat acceptance thing? What do you think is okay? What do you think isn't okay? As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons, and let's get right into the fan art.